Imagine if just 1 hour a day could completely transform your life. Not 10 hours, not a full schedule, just 1 hour every day where you dedicate time purely to yourself. No distractions, no noise, just growth. In a world constantly pulling your attention outward, investing time inward becomes your superpower. This video, Invest 1 hour a day in yourself, shows you how that single hour can build discipline, unlock purpose, and turn ordinary people into legends. Let's begin. Build a fortress of discipline. Discipline is not a talent, it's not a gift, it's a muscle. And just like any other muscle, it grows with use and shrinks with neglect. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it comes from some burst of motivation, or from a personality trait you're either born with or not. But the truth is, discipline is a choice, a daily, deliberate, sometimes painful choice. And when you invest 1 hour a day into yourself, you are making that choice. That 1 hour becomes a ritual, a sacred time where you show up no matter what. You might be tired, you might be stressed, you might not feel like it, but you still show up. That's where discipline is born. Not in the easy moments, but in the ones where you choose yourself anyway. Let's be real, our world is built to distract you. Social media, endless news, notifications, everything is engineered to pull your attention outward. And what that does, quietly and slowly, is it erodes your inner strength. It weakens your ability to stay focused. It chips away at your discipline. But that hour, that's your rebellion. That's your shield against the chaos. When you say, for this hour, I am unavailable to the world, you're not just practicing discipline, you're declaring independence. You're saying, I am not a puppet, I control my time, I control my focus, I control me. It doesn't even matter what exactly you do in that hour. Whether it's learning, working out, meditating, journaling, or planning, what matters most is that you consistently keep that appointment with yourself. Think of it like training your willpower in the gym of life. Each day you show up, even if the session isn't perfect, you're getting stronger. You're teaching your mind, I do what I said I would do. And once your mind starts believing that, something powerful happens. You start to trust yourself. That's the foundation of discipline, self-trust. When you trust yourself, your words carry more weight. You stop making empty promises to yourself. You stop breaking them. You follow through. That follow-through spills into every area of life, work, health, relationships. People around you start noticing the change. Not because you say something, but because they see something in the way you carry yourself. The calm, the control, the consistency. That is the quiet strength of discipline. Now let's talk about something most people overlook. What happens when you don't feel like it? Because here's the truth. Even the most disciplined people have off days. They get sick, they get discouraged, they get bored. But here's the difference, they show up anyway. That's the line between ordinary and legendary. The average person shows up when it's convenient. The disciplined person shows up no matter what, and that 1 hour becomes their secret weapon. Some days you may only give 40% effort, but 40% is better than zero. And the real magic? Showing up at 40% builds more mental strength than showing up at 100%. Why? Because it proves to your brain that your emotions don't control your actions. Your feelings can scream stay in bed, but your actions say get up anyway. That's where your inner fortress is built, brick by brick, hour by hour. And here's what's incredible. Once you build that fortress, life becomes easier. Not because the world changes, but because you change. You stop being reactive. You stop depending on motivation. You become the kind of person who does what needs to be done, even when it's hard. You build internal systems. You don't have to think every day, should I do this? The decision is already made. That 1 hour is yours. No negotiations, no debates. This one discipline, this 1 hour becomes the anchor that stabilizes your entire day. Because when you start the day with something intentional, something you chose, you carry that power into every other area. Your work becomes more focused, your conversations more intentional, your actions more deliberate. Let's take it deeper. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about loving yourself enough to do what's best, even when it's uncomfortable. Most people confuse comfort with care. They think skipping the gym or sleeping in is an act of self-love. But true self-love says, I care about my future self too much to let today's mood make decisions. That's maturity, and that maturity is what discipline teaches you. Now let's look at the long game. 1 hour a day doesn't feel like much, but multiply that over a year, 365 hours. That's over 2 full weeks of non-stop progress. Imagine who you'd become after 365 hours of discipline training. Imagine what habits you'd form, what weaknesses you'd overcome, what strengths you'd develop. Not because you tried to change overnight, but because you stayed consistent. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. Your job is to commit. 1 hour, every day, no excuses. And here's a secret. The first few days are the hardest. Your brain will resist. Your body will protest. That's normal. You're rewiring years of distraction. laziness, and avoidance. But if you can push through that initial friction, it gets easier. Why? Because habits are like gravity. At first it's heavy, it pulls you down. But once you get momentum, the resistance weakens. It becomes natural. That hour becomes your sanctuary. You begin to crave it, not because of discipline, but because of how it makes you feel. Clear, grounded, focused, alive. And when life gets chaotic, and it will, that 1 hour becomes your center, your anchor, your home base. It reminds you who you are and what you're about. The world will test you. There will be hard days, painful losses, setbacks, chaos. But discipline gives you something the world can't take: control over yourself. And in a world where most people are slaves to their emotions, addictions, and distractions, that kind of self-control is rare and priceless. So yes, you can start with just 1 hour. 1 hour to say I matter. 1 hour to say I'm building something. 1 hour to say my life is worth my own effort. That's the hour where average ends and excellence begins. That's how you build a fortress of discipline. 2. Learn something that builds you. In a time where information is limitless but attention is rare, learning has become one of the most underrated superpowers of this era. Every single day you are being bombarded with content, some useful, most useless. You scroll endlessly, consume passively, and let your mind wander aimlessly through other people's opinions. But real growth, real evolution, it starts when you take back control of what enters your mind. And it only takes 1 hour a day. Think about that for a moment. Just 60 minutes where you deliberately choose to feed your brain instead of numbing it. No scrolling, no gossip, no meaningless opinions, just intentional learning. Learning is how we evolve. It's how humans rose from primitive beings to inventing rockets and writing poetry. But that progress came from focus, from attention, from people who chose to ask better questions, people who chose to go deeper when the world remained shallow. Your 1 hour of learning is your gateway to becoming someone the world can't ignore. When you dedicate time each day to acquiring knowledge, you're not just adding information, you're upgrading your identity. Let's say you decide to learn something that excites you: a language, psychology, business, finance, philosophy, coding, history. The topic doesn't matter as much as the consistency. 1 hour a day, 365 days a year. That's 365 hours. That's the equivalent of a semester in college, without tuition, without professors, without permission, but with purpose. Now think about what happens when you apply what you learn. Because knowledge is not power, applied knowledge is power. When you understand something and then act on it, you start changing your circumstances. You solve problems faster, you speak with clarity, you lead with confidence, and soon people start seeing you differently. Not as someone who's just trying to improve, but as someone who has improved. Learning also unlocks opportunities. Doors that were once closed begin to open because you're no longer depending on guesswork. You're operating from understanding. You know what questions to ask. You know what traps to avoid. You know how to think for yourself. And in today's world, independent thinking is almost extinct. Most people simply copy, repost, and echo what they hear. But when you learn intentionally, you develop your own voice. You start noticing the flaws in conventional wisdom. You begin to question assumptions. And eventually you create your own path instead of walking someone else's. Another hidden power of learning daily is how it boosts your self-respect. When you give yourself time to grow, you begin to like the person you're becoming. You stop seeking validation from others because you already feel good within. That quiet self-confidence begins to radiate in how you speak, how you walk, how you live. The beauty of 1 hour a day is that it's manageable. You don't need to quit your job or isolate yourself. You just need to decide, this hour belongs to my evolution. No distractions, no compromises. Let's be clear, learning isn't just reading books, it's watching deep lectures, practicing skills, listening to quality podcasts, writing your thoughts, applying what you've studied, teaching others what you've learned. Every small act of learning becomes a building block for the future version of you, and that version, they will look back and thank you for the hours you invested today, because while the world chased trends, you built a foundation. Let's take this deeper. When you learn, you become more interesting. You bring value to conversations. You make connections between ideas others miss. You begin to lead, even if silently. People notice when you speak from knowledge, not opinion. That 1 hour a day becomes your edge in life. While others waste time, you invest it. While others depend on motivation, you rely on mastery. While others entertain themselves, you educate yourself. And in doing so, you become rare. Because the truth is, most people don't want to learn. They want to be entertained. They want to feel smart, not be smart. But not you. You've chosen growth. And that makes all the difference. So pick your subject. Make your space. Show up. 1 hour, every day. Not to impress anyone. Not to prove anything. But to become someone even you respect. 3. Move your body. Sharpen your mind. Let's get one thing straight. Your mind is only as powerful as the body that carries it. You can have the sharpest thoughts, the best ideas, the most creative dreams, but if your body is weak, tired, stiff, and undisciplined, none of it will manifest. That's why movement isn't just about fitness. it's about alignment. 1 hour a day of movement, any kind of movement, can completely transform not only how you look but how you live, because movement doesn't just build muscle, it builds character. Think about it. When you commit to daily movement, you're entering a battle against laziness, against excuses, against your own limits. And every time you win that battle, even just for 20 or 30 minutes, you strengthen your discipline, your willpower, your self-respect. Movement is the body's way of staying connected to life. It's how you shake off stress, release anger, process emotion. It's therapy, it's meditation, it's healing. And you don't need a gym or fancy equipment. You need space, intention, and commitment. You can stretch, walk, run, lift, swim, dance, breathe deeply and push your body to new places. That physical resistance you feel, that's what growth feels like. Let's talk about energy. Most people feel drained, tired, foggy, and they think the solution is caffeine or more sleep. But what they really need is movement. Because when you move, you create energy. Your blood flows, your brain activates, your hormones balance, and suddenly you're awake, not just physically but emotionally and mentally. And here's something you must understand. Physical strength translates to mental strength. When you push past pain in your workout, you're training your mind to keep going when life gets hard. When you finish a workout you didn't feel like starting, you're proving to yourself that you can overcome resistance. It's not about the six-pack, it's about self-mastery. Movement also heals. It improves sleep, reduces anxiety, boosts mood, builds confidence, and over time it reshapes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as fragile or tired or lazy. You start seeing yourself as strong, capable, focused, ready. The way you treat your body is a message to the world. It tells people what you tolerate, what you value, what you expect, and more importantly, it tells you what you believe about yourself. 1 hour a day of movement becomes your training ground, not just for the body but for life. It's where you learn grit, focus, endurance, precision, presence, and all those skills transfer directly into your career, your relationships, your passions. And here's the best part. It's not just about pushing, it's also about listening. Your daily movement teaches you how to hear your body's signals. Where are you tight? Where are you weak? Where are you holding tension? This awareness makes you smarter in everything you do. Now let's get practical. Even 20 minutes of exercise can change your entire day. Start small, stretch in the morning, walk after meals, do bodyweight exercises at home. Gradually your stamina will grow, your strength will build, and what once felt hard will become your new baseline. Consistency is more important than intensity. You don't need to crush yourself every day. You need to show up, even on the days you're tired, even when it's cold, even when no one's watching, because those are the reps that matter most. That's when the mind is forged. Let's not forget, movement also boosts creativity. Ever wonder why your best ideas come during a walk or a workout? Because when the body is active, the mind opens, solutions appear, clarity emerges. You connect dots you missed while sitting still. So if you want to feel better, think sharper, move smoother, and live louder. Start moving daily. Make it your anchor, your therapy, your rebellion against stagnation. Because when you move your body, you reclaim your life. 4. Reflect. Don't just run. In a world obsessed with hustle, movement, and speed, very few stop long enough to ask, where am I going? People are running marathons without knowing the destination, chasing goals that don't even belong to them, drowning in information, but starving for wisdom. That's where reflection steps in. It is not about sitting still doing nothing. It's about engaging with your thoughts, understanding your feelings, and aligning your actions. And that requires space, silence, solitude. Just 1 hour a day is enough to shift everything. Reflection is the art of self-conversation. It's where your mind meets your soul. Most people are afraid of it. They avoid silence. Why? Because silence speaks truth, and truth makes you uncomfortable. But discomfort is a signal. It shows you what needs to change, what's unresolved, what's been ignored. When you take an hour each day to reflect, you become more than just reactive. You become responsive. You stop moving on autopilot. You begin to act with intention. Let's break this down. Reflection helps you process what you've done, plan what you'll do next, and understand why you're doing it at all. Without reflection, you might spend years climbing a ladder, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. So how do you reflect effectively? Start by writing. Journaling is one of the most powerful tools available. When you write down your thoughts, they stop swirling in your head. You gain clarity. You notice patterns. You hear yourself clearly. Over time, your journal becomes a mirror, a history of your inner evolution. Ask yourself questions like, what did I learn today? What challenged me? What triggered me? What made me proud? What needs to change? What am I afraid of? The answers don't need to be perfect. They just need to be honest. Next, try meditation. Even 10 minutes of intentional stillness can calm the storm inside. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, watch your thoughts without judgment. With time, you'll realize you're not your thoughts, you're the one watching them. That shift is everything. Prayer or spiritual practice is another form of reflection. It connects you to something bigger than yourself. It humbles you, grounds you, gives you a sense of purpose beyond the chaos of daily life. Also, take time to reflect on your vision. Where do you want to go? Who do you want to become? Reflection turns your goals from vague hopes into defined intentions. It connects the dots between your present and your future. Another gift of reflection is emotional awareness. Most people don't understand their emotions, they just react. But when you sit with your feelings, you begin to see what's underneath. Anger often hides pain. Anxiety often hides uncertainty. Reflection allows you to meet those emotions without fear. And that's how you begin to heal. Let's go deeper. The modern world glorifies busyness, but busyness isn't progress, it's distraction. You can be incredibly active and still incredibly lost. Reflection is what turns motion into meaning. It makes sure your hustle actually serves your higher self. And the more you reflect, the more you grow emotionally. You develop emotional intelligence. You become more patient, more empathetic, more composed. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding wisely. People will notice the difference. You'll speak less but say more. You'll carry peace even in conflict. You'll lead not with noise but with presence. Here's something profound. When you reflect consistently, you begin to hear your intuition. That quiet voice that always knows. In a noisy world, intuition gets drowned out, but in stillness, it gets louder. And the more you listen to it, the more aligned your life becomes. Also remember, reflection isn't always pleasant. Sometimes you'll uncover parts of yourself you don't like, jealousy, insecurity, regret, but don't run from them. They are teachers. They show you where the work is. And with awareness comes power, because you can't change what you don't understand. So yes, 1 hour a day to reflect might seem unproductive to the outside world, but internally, it's the most productive thing you can do. It resets your emotional system, recharges your mind, refines your direction. Reflection is like cleaning your inner house. If you don't do it regularly, things pile up, confusion, resentment, doubt. But if you do it daily, everything stays clear. You move lightly, you live freely. So sit, write, breathe, pray, think, feel, ask, listen. Don't just run, reflect, because life is not just about speed, it's about depth. 5. Create. Don't just consume. You were not born just to scroll, to binge, to double tap and repeat. You were born to build, to express, to give shape to your inner world. And yet in the digital age, we've all become consumers, hungry for more content, more updates, more validation. But consumption, without creation, leads to spiritual fatigue. That's why this 1 hour a day must be sacred, not for input, but for output, for creation. When you create even something small, you're saying, I'm not just here to take, I'm here to contribute. And contribution is where meaning is born. You don't need to be an artist to create, you just need to express. That could mean writing, painting, recording, singing, designing, coding, building a business, anything that transforms your thoughts into something real. The process of creating is transformative. It forces you to dig deeper, to organize your thoughts, to be present, while consuming distracts. Creating awakens. It connects you to who you really are. And when you create daily, something magical happens. Your voice emerges. At first it will feel awkward. Your work may feel clumsy. Your ideas might not land perfectly. But don't stop, because every masterpiece begins as a mess, and over time you refine, you evolve, you improve, you grow. This daily habit of creation becomes your craft, and craft gives you identity, it gives you purpose, it gives you power. Let's go deeper. When you create something, you leave a fingerprint on the world. You turn invisible thoughts into visible form. You build a legacy, something that outlives the moment, something that might inspire someone else. 1 hour of daily creation might seem small, but it adds up. A page a day becomes a book in a year. A sketch a day becomes a portfolio. A video a day becomes a channel. A habit becomes a lifestyle. And most importantly, creation heals. It allows you to process emotion, to turn pain into poetry, doubt into design, chaos into clarity. Your work becomes your therapy. Also, creation gives you control. In a world where most people feel helpless, creating puts you in charge. You shape reality with your hands, your words, your effort. That power is priceless. The resistance you feel before creating, that fear, that doubt, that perfectionism, it's a good sign. It means your soul is stretching. Keep going, and don't judge your creations too soon. Create for the joy of it, for the process, for the evolution it brings. Because in the end, it's not about fame or followers, it's about becoming someone who produces, not just someone who consumes. Someone who leaves something behind. So use that 1 hour, write the post, sketch the idea, record the podcast, start the blog, code the app, make the music. Don't wait for permission, just begin. Because the world doesn't need more noise, it needs more voices. Yours, 1 hour. That's all it takes to build a life of depth, not in one day, but every day.
So give yourself the gift of time, not for the world, not for the phone, for you. Start today. Start small, but start. And if this message moved something in you, subscribe to Echo of Legends for more timeless reminders that greatness begins within. Speak less, train more, rise quietly. 1 hour, that's all it takes to build a life of depth, not in one day, but every day. So give yourself the gift of time, not for the world, not for the phone, for you. Start today. Start small, but start. And if this message moved something in you, subscribe to Echo of Legends for more timeless reminders that greatness begins within. Speak less, train more, rise quietly.